So in today's class, we're going to begin our command line tutorial. So if you're using a Mac or a Linux machine, open up the terminal application. And if you're using a Windows machine, open up the Git Bash program. Was everyone who was using Windows able to download either Git Bash or a Linux VirtualBox? Okay, because I think that's going to make this a lot smoother. If you did the assignment already using PowerShell, you'll notice some differences between PowerShell and the Git Bash. Git Bash is a bash shell that's going to be very similar to the bash shell in Mac or Linux. So, question?
I don't need the PowerShell.
You don't need the PowerShell for today. For the assignment or for the reading, for the Learn Python the Hard Way, the Appendix A, you are asked to use PowerShell. But you can also use Git Bash and then do, say, like the Linux tutorial or the Mac one, because those commands would be more similar to what you would use with Bash. And so the other thing I want to do is go to my web browser and go to the GitHub page for Python for data analysis. And so we're going to go, we've got our lessons folder here. We've also got that same lessons folder here. So we can go to that, and we see all these lessons here. Okay, so first thing we're going to do, just to give you an idea, every week or every class when you come in, we're going to go to the GitHub page, copy the lesson to our computer, and work from that. So that's kind of the way we do things. And since this is the first day we're actually working with computers, we need to do a couple things to set up. So you've already got your terminal kind of environment working. That's either the terminal app on a Mac or a terminal app on the Linux or Git Bash on a PC. And so we open up the terminal. You should see a prompt. It might not look like my prompt, but you should see a $sign here. That usually means you're using Bash. And so we're going to, first of all, you can start out by doing pwd, which is print working directory. So that should show you're in like some kind of users and then the name of your user account. Your name is different than mine, so you'll have a different username, but that should be printed there. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make a directory for the class. So we're going to type mkdir and then SIO209. So I actually already have this folder on my computer, so I'm not going to hit enter. I'm just going to hit cancel, but you should go ahead and hit enter. And no, that was just because I hit Control C. So just hit enter. Yeah, don't hit the Control C. So then we type ls, and you'll see all the contents in your home directory. You're gonna have different things in there than I do. That's okay. But what you should see is a folder called SIO209. Okay. Has everyone been able to do that so far? It works. You can make a directory. Question?
Something have to happen before you get to this point, because every single time I'm typing it says error.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you using PowerShell? Okay, you can give her a hand? Okay, thanks. Okay, so let's go to, we're going to move into that folder. We're going to type cd SIO209, and that's going to move into that folder. If you type ls, you're going to see the contents of that folder. Now yours should be empty, but I already created that folder, so I have some stuff in my folder. So don't worry. When you type ls, you should see nothing come back. But we're now going to add something to that. So you're going to type mkdir, make directory, and now we're going to make a directory called lessons. Okay, so we're going to hit enter. And now when you type ls, now you're going to see lessons there. Again, your SIO 209 folder doesn't have all these other things that mine does, but you should now have one called lessons. Now you can type cd again, that's change directory, lessons, hit enter. Now if you type ls, you should see it's empty. So we've now we've created a folder called SIO 209 in our home directory, and then within that we've created a folder called lessons. This is where we're going to put all of the lessons from each course or from each class day into this folder. Okay, so we can now go ahead and do that. In fact, we can add the lesson for yesterday or for Monday and for today. So if we go to lesson 1, this was the lesson from Monday. It was just some information about what we did. We can type raw. That'll show us the actual text of that file in sort of raw format or in how it's really stored in the computer. So we can then go save as. This should be something similar on each operating system. Save as lesson 1, and my Mac is adding this .txt because it wants to create a text file, and it doesn't maybe realize that Markdown is a form of a text file. So I'm going to delete that. So it's just called .md. Now the other thing you want to do is save that to this SIO 209 folder in your home directory. Now I've got my home directory on my Finder window there, but maybe you do not. So if that's the case, we can go to Finder and we can go up to Preferences here and say a sidebar, and under sidebar you can add your home directory. I recommend doing this because in the class we're going to be storing a lot of things in our home directory. This is common in the Unix environment. When you open up a new terminal, it's going to open up in your home directory, so having access to that is a nice thing. So so if I go back to here, I have my home directory. I can now scroll down to SIO 209 lessons, and I can save that file. Now it's going to ask me if I want to append .txt. I'll say don't append. I just want it to be a .md file. So now if I go back to lessons, I can type ls, and I have lesson 1 there, .md. So ls is list the contents of a directory. We'll cover all these commands again in a minute. Okay, but we want lesson 2, so let's go back to our browser, scroll back, go to lesson 2, click on raw. Now there's another way to get this file to our computer. One is to do the save as. Another one is to copy the link. So we can do go to that link, select it, hit Command C, and then we're going to do a command called curl. So this is, if this doesn't work for you, don't worry, just do what we did the other way with save as, okay? Because this might not work on everyone's system.
Mine keeps saving as txt.
Okay, that's fine. So if your file saved as txt, you can do this. So you can type this command, You can type MV, which is move. In this case, it's going to do it's going to rename. So you can type move lesson one. If that file is called lesson1.txt md.txt, you can then do this. Now that doesn't work for me because I don't have a file called md.txt. Mine already saved in the right format. So I think this should work for Macs. This next thing we're going to do, it might work for Linux and Git Bash as well. If not, there's a related command called wget, but we're going to type curl -O, then a quote. Now we're going to paste. So on the Mac, this is Command V, or you can go up here to paste. We're going to. What this is going to do is curl is a command that gets the contents of a file on the web, like a URL. So this is a URL. So we're going to get that file, and the -O says that we're going to name it the same thing that it's named on the remote location. So if we enter double quotes like that, it's going to download it. Now if we type ls, we can see we have lesson 2 as well. So this is an alternate way to do the same thing. The advantage is that it doesn't try to add a different file extension like your computer maybe did when you did the save as thing. So that's an alternate way. Are there any questions? Yeah.
Is that an O or a 0?
That's an O. That's so it's curl -O. So a 0 on my computer looks like this. So you can tell the difference.
So actually, the command lines are paste sensitive.
Absolutely. The question is the command line case sensitive? Yes. It matters. Almost always it matters if you type a capital or a lowercase letter. Definitely it matters if you have an O instead of a 0. That definitely matters. Yeah. Usually the number of spaces that you put between things doesn't matter, or sometimes you can omit the spaces between commands. No, sometimes, but case sensitive definitely. Are there any other questions? Yeah.
How do you delete a folder you accidentally made one
Mm-hmm.
and then save the lessons into it?
Yep. So we will cover if you can hold on a minute. We will cover that in a minute. I think is the best way. So the question was, if you created a folder and you didn't mean to create it, how do you delete it? So we'll cover that in a minute. I think is the best time to do that.
-O was keep it the same name. Is that right?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, and we'll cover. So there's a number of ways you can find out like how commands work. You can type. There's a command called man. So you type man curl,
Okay.
and that will bring up information about curl. Just transfer URL, and you can scroll down. We'll cover this in a minute, and you got to go down a ways before you get to the -O. But anyway, and then to get out of that, if you type man something, type Q. That will take you back to your shell.
How do I move that URL into the command line?
Yeah,
Because I copy and paste it.
it didn't work for you.
Yeah.
It didn't.
Windows, you can right click.
You can right click and paste. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Shift insert.
Shift insert
Yeah.
on Windows.
Windows.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
Sorry, this might be a stupid question, but in terms of getting the raw file for the lesson, but how do you save it into like MP file?
So this is the raw file is the MD file, and then if you do like a save as, you can save it, and you can just delete the .txt here. Yeah. So, and again, MD is Markdown. I'll tell you a little bit more about that a bit later, but it's a very minimal markup on a text file that makes it look like this when it's rendered. So it gives you all this. It gives you a link, and it gives you this nice coloring for, or kind of sets off the command command text and things like that. Any other questions before we proceed?
What's man curl again?
What's the command curl?
No, man curl.
Oh, man curl. That is the man page or the manual page for the command curl.
Oh, okay.
Hmm.
Thank you.
And we'll cover that again. So there's a lot I'm throwing at you right now. There's a certain level of things you need to know just to type one or two commands, right? But we're gonna review all this stuff today and next time, and you'll get more experience. And the curl is something we'll do every day at the beginning of class, because we're going to use curl to copy the latest version of the lesson to your lessons folder. Okay. So we are now ready to start the tutorial.